Nice to be here. Welcome to the Three Jewels if you haven't been here before. And if you have been here before, welcome to the Three Jewels, as if it's the first time you've been here. My name is Hector Marcel Geronimo Ochoa Peralta de Figurilli de Malacaria II. I'm also known as the crying teacher. So I feel really hyper emotional teaching this course today. So I thought I'd start off by crying and then we can talk about the teaching. I'm super excited to share with those beings present one of the most profound teachings that I've ever received from what I didn't know at the time was my holy teacher. So the first time I heard these ideas to the depth and breadth that I hope to share with you today and next course, transformed my life irreversibly towards a path of waking up. So if the word Buddha means to wake up, and Buddhism is wake-upism, we're in a class of wake-upism, and it certainly did that, and it did that like a slap to the inside of my face that still resonates today. To say if things are going well in your life, if things are precious in your life, if you love some things in your life, then you better understand where these things come from, because they will disappear if you don't know where they come from. So if things are going well and there's beauty in your life and there's joy and there's abundance, know that they will end unless you know how they came about. Because if you know how they came about, then you can keep them going. And if you can figure that out, you can do that for every creature you come in contact with, everyone you love, everyone you're neutral to, and even the ones that piss you off. You can give them something profound if you understand these things. This particular course, the Bodhisattva Charavatara, is the guide to the Bodhisattva's way of life, and we're going to talk about what the guide means and what Bodhisattva is and all these things. We're going to take it slow. Usually I'm also high-tech. We have a data projection, and I had worked so hard, because I'm so excited about this course, to present to you some beautiful images that would evoke feelings and sensations and ideas behind this course. And last night, as I'm getting ready to review, because I had prepped the whole 12 weeks, my hard drive dies irreversibly. So I'm looking like I'm really prepared like never before. I know it's going to show off some nice technology. And so really I had planned the 12 weeks course, all of them in detail, notes and all. Which tells me I have to share it with you in a different way, and I'm happy to. Yeah. The guy at the Apple store this morning didn't understand why I was so calm. And so he says, but you hadn't backed up those files that you know you've got to use for tonight, because I told him, if you can just get me those files for tonight, I'd be happy. And he goes, man, you're like the calmest customer. And I'm like, well, I'm teaching a course about getting enlightened, so it'd be really problematic for me to get upset with you right now. Believe me, I want to, you know. My mind won't let me. So, traditionally we start these classes by offering a perfect world, a mandala offering, to whatever your conceptualization to an enlightened being would be. So you bring to mind an idea of the most enlightened being you can imagine, then turn that dial up as bright as you possibly can and imagine even more. And imagine that they are listening to your deepest wishes, your most secret thoughts and your deepest intentions. And then from your heart, you transform the world that you know into a perfect world to the best of your ability, whether you cover it in rose petals or gold, or you just remove suffering from whatever it is, that you can make this entire universe a space of perfection, and you make an offering to that being that you imagined is an enlightened being. You're tricking yourself to bring to mind what enlightenment could be and bring to mind what a big offering would be, so you can generate the courses to actually become that. So we do that through what's called a mandala offering, and then we do this thing called taking refuge, which means if you're a practitioner of wake-upism, you recognize of all the things in existence that can truly help you from the conditions of cycles that we live in. This idea of the three jewels is what you go for refuge to, rather than the police or your mum or your uncle, or complaining to your boss, or getting angry at your boyfriend. Or none of those things are true protection, because they'll cycle. But a true protection is really this idea of emptiness, the ultimate nature, the code behind the experience we're living. Understanding that, that's called wisdom in Buddhism. And understanding that in relation particularly to your mind and the Buddha's mind, to the ideas that you wake up to realize in your path, the dharma, and to beings that can lead you there because they've touched it, experienced it, or come close to it. So we do this chant called taking refuge, but really it doesn't matter if you go blah 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 blah. If you know it perfectly, if you know the tone, it makes no difference unless your heart really conceptualizes these ideas and saying, what really can stop these cycles of ups and downs that I see in this world. And I'll talk a little bit about that in a second. So we'll do a couple of little chants to get our minds away from the regular normal world and enter a little bit into the world of perfection that is available to your imagination. And as you imagine, you create it through your actions. So Javier, you want to have a go?
Sure, yes.
Thank you.
Bukir Jikshin Metokchan Rirav Linshin Yindegam Padi Sangye Shindu Miteguargi Drokun Namdar Shinla Chuparsho Idam Guru Ratnamandalakam Niyatayami
Sangye
Judam Soki Shobnam La Janchu Bardu Dakni Gyapsuchi Dagi Jinyen Gipe Sonam Ki Drola Benchir Sangye Druparsho
Sangye
Judam Soki Shobnam La Janchu Bardu Dakni Gyapsuchi Daki Jinyen Gipe Sanam Ki Drola Benchir Sangye Druparsho
Sangye
Judam Soki Shobnam La Janchu Bardu Dakni Gyapsuchi Daki Jinyen Gipe Sanam Ki Drola Benchir Sangye Druparsho.
And just take a comfortable seated position. We'll do a short, very short 5-minute meditation just to get your minds in a slightly different state so we can move forward. It doesn't matter how you sit so long as you can leave it locked in there for the next 5 minutes and forget about your posture. It's preferable, actually it's ideal if your back is straight. That's the main thing here. And you've got no tension running, so scan your body, remove any tension. Bring your mind's focus to the area of tension and just release it around your legs, your torso. Tucking your belly just a tiny bit, enough to create some sensation around your belly button area. Imagine there's a string pulling you up from the crown of your head, so you're just floating there and beautiful still. Scan your face and remove any tension around your eyelids. Make sure your shoulders aren't drooping forward. And just feel the sensation of being in your body for a little while. Begin to bring your awareness gently to the way your body is breathing. Just observe it as a third person. You can observe it imagining it physically, or you can feel the sensations of the air entering and exiting the lungs. Or you could focus at the tip of your nose, feeling the air move through the fine hairs at the tip of your nostril. It doesn't matter so long as you recognize your rhythm and you watch it entering and exiting. Now imagine from your heart an intention rising that calls throughout the entire universe. A call goes out for you to meet your perfect enlightened being teacher. And as soon as the intention arises, in front of you appears your vision of an enlightened being. And it can be somebody real, somebody imagined, somebody that you've been practicing with if you have a teacher. If you have another tradition, it could be Jesus or anything like that. So long as they appear in front of you in all their qualities. There's no right or wrong way to do this other than it's just you and your mind experiencing this being. Make them as close to you as possible, facing you, sitting in front of you. You can focus on any part of them. You can look at their silhouette. It's beautiful to look into their eyes. Or you can just feel like a gravity pull, their presence in front of you, engulfing you. If you have a visualization practice, you can imagine light radiating from their heart to your heart, from their throat to your throat, and from the area between their eyebrows to your eyebrows. And through that light you can see the world like they see it. Your mind gets distracted or battles with you, that's okay. That's what minds are supposed to do here. So you just gently return back to that vision and try again. And then really have an experience of them. Imagine the highest quality, the thing you most revere about them. Whether it's a quality of mind, patience, wisdom, or of action. And feel a joy for recognizing that in them. Like really be happy that that quality exists and that you can be aware of it and have a sense of it. It means you're on a collision course with that quality. And then to whatever capacity you were able to bring them to mind in front of you, ask them to please teach you and stay. And as you do that, watch them rise up and turn to face the same direction you're facing, and getting smaller and smaller until they're about the size of a thumb resting just above the crown of your head. And as they shrink down, they intensify. They get brighter, stronger, as if you've condensed the power of the sun into a tiny thumbnail. And they are bright and strong there in all their qualities. And imagine that they're almost touching the crown of your head, resting just above the crown. You can feel like a sensation there. If you moved up a little bit, you would touch them. And the closer you are to them, the closer you are to those qualities. Now I'd like you to do something slightly different from as they sit there. Imagine that every being that you know in your world, your family members, your partners, your work colleagues, whatever they need in the world right now, whether it's advice, time, some relaxation, food, an ease of their worries, a removal of their illness, if they need just some good news or a friend. Imagine that every single one of them experiences a teacher above the crown of their head, unseen to them, but they feel the sensation that something is changing for the better because a teacher's appeared above their head. So place them there and keep them close to your friends and family so they may get everything they wish for. And as you imagine that, imagine them being at ease, feeling no stress, feeling at peace. And then see if you can collect all those beings, have a vision in your mind of all those beings feeling contentment because they have this awareness, this new awareness. And as a group, extend that same feeling, that same idea to every being on the planet, every human, every person in Africa, in Asia, in South America, in Europe, every mother that needs some respite, every child that needs a hug, every starving person that needs some food. Imagine it perfectly arrives to all of them and that they are satisfied, even if it's for a second. And see then if you can imagine the entire globe as it's turning through space, with beings feeling these moments of happiness and fulfillment. See if you can imagine it occurring again and again as time progresses. And then gradually bring that feeling back into your heart, and in doing so, the teacher at the crown of your head shrinks down even smaller to the size of a pea, and it enters the crown of your head and begins to drop down slowly until they rest at the very center of your heart. All their qualities abundant there, helping you see the world differently and hear the world differently and feel the world differently. And when you're ready, you can open your eyes. Thank you for coming. It's lovely to share these ideas with you. I'm very happy to be here. So the first thing I'm supposed to do in this course is get real about the motivation why you would come to a class like this. Get real. Get a perspective about what life on this planet means for beings like us. So why listen to these ideas? Ideas, I'm getting too American. Ideas. Ideas. I'll tell you a short story. We enter this planet and we get a download of what we're supposed to do on the planet. And we got the Western download on what you should do with your life. And we don't question it, we buy into it. We're too little to question it. We go to school for it, we get it drilled into us. And whole cultures are built like that. And if you've traveled at all, you realize that different cultures have different ideas about what you should do with your life and what's important and what's valuable. So we have our mode of being. We exhaust our lives living that mode, mostly without question. And if you're here, then you're questioning, I'm guessing, yeah. Unless you came for the beard, and then if you're serious about the question, if you haven't been jaded by asking the questions, because most of us gets those questions shut down by the time we're 7 or something. Don't ask stupid questions. But why did that person do this and this person do that? And why did Grandpa die and not Grandma? Well, because. And we get answers, and when we dig and dig as children, we get told at some point there's no answer to that. Don't ask silly questions. But you should do this, you should go to school, and you should study, and you should get a boyfriend or a girlfriend, and you should get a house, and you should get nice clothes, and you should get a car, and you should be famous, and you should be an individual, and you should be free, and you should have freedom. You know, whatever our code is, and we buy into it, and we follow it. We live our lives. That's what drives us. You know, we drive it so deep, we don't question it. So if you're here, you're probably questioning. If you're serious, then you're questioning hard and you don't mind getting hard answers. And if you're not serious, then I guess you're at least sincere and trying to figure it out. And whilst enjoying the lattes and the things, you're like sincerely figuring it out, like most of us, you know. But it's this class is the ideas that we'll share in this course a profound shift and answers to the ultimate questionings, really. They have the potential to take you off orbit from a sucky cyclic life out into the vastness, timeless, perfect experience of being that is available to a mind like ours. But to get there, you really need jet fuel. You need some kind of energy that would get you out of orbit. So it's a powerful fuel. And so the motivation for listening to these ideas are the reality checks that we should do with what we are doing with our lives. So I invite you today to don't just question your life like you've been questioning your life. Because if you're here, you're good seekers of what is life and what's the meaning and what's my life and what's purpose and how do I get more happiness and compassion. I challenge you, please, especially if you've heard some of these Buddhist ideas before or Eastern ideas before. Listen anew, listen for the first time. You get one shot in this life at this stuff. You get one shot at figuring it out. Don't shut down the questioning. Don't be afraid to look at the hard answers that you could find when you seek. Because in there is freedom. There's real freedom. So I bumped into this course and these ideas in 96, something like this, in the 90s. And like I said, it slapped me in the face to wake up. And I've been trying ever since with some big failures and some exquisite peaks at what's available. And those peaks that come every now and then, those tiny experiences, like I had one today looking at a man on the train. They come, and they are so strongly true that they keep you going through all the other orbiting that we're habituated to. A side story, the guy on the train. So I'm sitting on the train getting my MacBook Pro fixed, which wasn't fixed. I had to leave it in the cemetery. And I'm sitting in front of this guy. I look, and my first instinct is to make fun of him. He was just this chubby guy. He had bright pink lips, and he was doing the busy, like everything. And I checked my mind, and my mind's like wants to create some story about why he's chubby and why he's got no tie, or he'd had a tie, but why he was like that. And I was shocked at how disgusting that was for my mind. And I remember the first time I got this course, I was challenged to think, what if my thoughts were public? What if everything I ever thought was public? Like the seeds from that teaching in 90-something popped into my awareness as a truth and said, Hector, what if that thing you're thinking right now, I could feel the impulse, right? It was just arising. I was about to create a whole story for this guy. I knew nothing of him. Really, I don't know anything about him, but my habit, my mind wanted to go, you're this kind of thing, and I'm going to box you into that, and then I don't have to think about you. I can just put you into this made up idea that I've got of who you are and why you're chubby and why you're all tight and why you're all this. And it was judgment. It was horrible. And the memory of the 90s came back and said, imagine that bubble above your head, and imagine if he read it. And then imagine that you were him reading that about you. And the power of that, to shut that down, to go, that is the most idiotic thing that I could possibly do to this person. And I'm like, wow, this person is then a teacher for me. He's not the thing I'm judging. He is the very essence of what wakes me up in this moment of ignorance. So I'm not looking at him, I'm watching. And like, what if he's this Bodhisattva, the thing I have to teach tonight, what if he's that kind of being, emanating in that person, calling out my bullshit and saying, wake up now. What if he's caring for me in that way I thought? And so then I thought I'd look at him anew, and I looked up, and there was this sign for healthcare above him. It said, who cares for you? And it was confirmed for me. It was confirmed for me that as you practice these things, that is a sign. That is just a sign. It's also a sign. Yeah, and how it resonated and what it did to my insides was a seed planted in the 90s by my holy teacher that I didn't think was a holy teacher. I was actually judging him just as badly back then. Waking me up. So then I thought, what's the motivation? I mean, we're going to learn stuff in this course. We're going to learn lists, and we're going to learn Tibetan words, and we're going to learn how to apply day to day. We're going to hopefully do quizzes and homeworks. We're going to take mental assignments to our subway rides. But none of it makes any difference if you haven't got your motivation clear, if you haven't got the jet fuel for your rocket to get you out of orbit. It's just more activity. You may as well just be on your iPhone. Yeah, yes, it's a nice activity, it'll have a nice result, but can it be a profound activity for you? So then I was thinking back about these cycles we live in, and rewind, 15, 16 years, and I'm working in Australia in a small company, and I'm comfortable just to do my little part-time work and ignore everybody there and come home and do my own little thing. Just trying to practice these things. But you can't help but get involved in your work, with the people you work with, the ideas you work with, the thing that I'm going to invest my body and my mind to do whilst I'm on this planet. So I was working for this energy company called Ergon, and no, it wasn't, it was called FNQEB. FNQEB, we used to make fun of that. Far North Queensland Electricity Board, FNQEB. And soon, I don't get the joke. So soon enough, this little world, you got it late. This little world that we have in the far north Queensland community, which is like the tropical north of Australia, we get bought out by this bigger corporation. And everybody is panicking. These people that have worked there 30, 40 years, they're like, oh my God, our jobs are ending, we're going to get redundant, what do I do with my life? And I was young and new, and I didn't care about that too much. I'm like, opportunity, we get to work for a bigger company, that means more things to do, bigger money, more people to work with. And so there began for me a cycle of nominal life that began abundance. I got more and more opportunity. I got to work with 6 different organizations. I got in charge of helping them come together and merge as a group. We fired 5 CEOs and we chose 1 CEO. We fired 5 boards and we became 1 board. We fired 5 executive teams, we got 1 executive team. We shut down 5 call centers, hundreds of people without work, but we built a massive call center. So for a bunch of other people, brand new thing. And there was excitement, and there was building, and people were investing their lives, and people were getting houses and paying mortgages, and we're beginning to do something amazing as a group of people. We built up to 4,000 employees servicing 600,000 customers. It's the biggest electricity network, second to Siberia, like really far out deserts in Australia with, kilometers horizon to horizon of one little wire getting some farm electricity so they could shear sheep. Yeah. And I worked in that company on and off for about 9 years. And I was doing my practice and I was doing my things, but I was also engaging with the individuals there, and I was getting to know their lives. And I saw people having babies, and I saw people buying houses, and I saw people breaking up with their relationships and shacking up with new relationships, having affairs and fighting with their bosses and suing each other. And I saw people doing life, And then by the time it was time for me to move back to the United States, this big, beautiful Ergon Energy, massive company we had built, and there was a few of us had been there since the beginning. 9 years, yeah. I bought 3 houses in time. I renovated one. I helped I don't know how many people get new jobs, transition out of the company, get other jobs. I saw too many customers that were in dangerous situations, getting electrocuted. Some people died, and helped the families grieve and connect with communities and get environmental, and we did all these beautiful things. But by the time it was time for me to come back, to move here, which was my plan, and I did in 2007, 2008. All of us people that created this big company began to sense the down spiral of building up that amazing 4,000 company strong, 600,000 customers, all these beautiful strategies for taking care of people and finance and whatever. And a regulation change in the government meant that they were shutting down that thing, re-merging it with some other things, selling off assets, and everybody's careers for the last 10, 15, 20 years, again, were finished. And people were worried. People that I knew, that were in their 50s and the 60s, like, well, what am I going to do? How do I pay for the mortgage? How do I pay for the kids? And it was mayhem for a bunch of people. And there were some young ones who didn't care, and they thought this is a great opportunity. And I still talk to some of those people. And so we look at each other and we talk now. I mean, even now when we chat on Facebook or whatever, our reference point is back then, what we were back then, not what we are now, what we were back then. We reminisce, or they try to engage again with that identity that was so vibrant and alive. That's gone, it's finished. That doesn't exist anymore. But they've got way more wrinkles than they ever had, and I had way more hair than I do now. And all of you are working for something. We're expending the energies of this body for something on this planet. The idea, the motivation for listening to this talk and these ideas is that every single thing that you build will disappear. Every single effort you put into it, doesn't matter how many houses I bought, doesn't matter how many new jobs we created, they will all, every single effort for every one of those beings truly will disappear. And that was a truth that was like a positive cancer in my mind. I could not get rid of that truth when I heard it the first time. It is a truth. Now, does that mean you shouldn't do anything? No, you must do something. But you must do something with a kind of awareness that is brought out by these marvelous ideas in this text, in this ancient text called the Bodhisattva Charyavatara. Every single thing we invest our life energy in externally is bound to go. The forces that brought it into existence have in them a thing that makes them come out of existence. So as soon as you have something in this realm, it must necessarily disappear. As soon as you're born, you're sure to die. Every single face on this floor right now will at some point be dead. When I heard this, it was horrible to hear. I didn't want to hear it. Every one of you and I will die at some point. This is true. This is reality. not hearing it is not reality. Pretending it doesn't happen to me is lunacy. It's the opposite of reality. It's a profound ignorance. And just because things are bright and nice right now does not guarantee at all that they will remain that way, if you don't know the forces that brought them into existence, and they weren't the forces we think of. This is a big mistake in our day-to-day living. This is what in Tibetan, what this idea is called ignorance. Ignorance of not knowing truly how this came to be. So this book deals with these ideas deeply, and it takes a focused mind, a motivated mind, to really stay in tune with them. And it sounds to the Western mind, because we've got all these beautiful things, it sounds like, I don't want to see the darkness because it's so depressing. Depressing is not knowing. Depressing is like closing your eyes and walking across a main road and thinking you're not going to get run over. At least open your eyes. Get it done. Like, no, at least you can avoid one or two. So the motivation for this course it's serious. It's serious for you, because every single life decision you make, every job you're going to work with, every person you're going to engage with, every single one should live by this litmus test of, does it ultimately help me with the reality of this planet and the life we have on this planet? And we just talked about external things, the physical things, the house, your body. Believe me, your body will change. I wasn't always like this.
No. You were born like that, Hector.
I was never like this. The beard just popped out one morning in these colors with the belly. Your life will change. The preciousness you have right now is beautiful if you have it. The things that brought them into being, if you understand them, you can reproduce them. And this text deals with what these forces that pop things into being and pulls them back out from them, gives them to you and takes them out. Not knowing what they are, that thing keeps going. Understanding what they are, then you begin a journey. Okay? And a big misnomer for practitioners of these paths are, I'm studying Buddhism, all of a sudden my life's going to be happy. It's not true. In fact, it's probably going to be a little bit more unhappy as you uncover the fabric of what you were ignoring before, and you realize truly what you have to deal with. I thought when I heard these things that, oh, I see what he means. In about 6 months to a year, I'll understand that. The unhappiness will go away, and then I'll be perfect thereafter. And it's this misconception about Eastern philosophy, it's this misconception about Buddhism in particular, that this is somehow stress reduction. That you're going to get a cancer, that you're going to have a limb chopped off, that your hair is going to fall off, that your face is going to fall off, it doesn't matter how many stitches you put in it, and that somehow Buddhism is going to help you close your eyes and it'll be fine about it as your face droops. I know. But we think that, you see, I still partly think that. We're using profound Eastern ideas of the nature of ultimate reality that say to you, why do you exist the way you exist? And is there another way to exist, truly exist, really be in a way that you never can conceive from this point of view until you internalize deeply? We're dealing with powerful fuel, and we're applying it to, I want a better house, and I want nicer curtains, and I wish my latte tasted better. You see, we have this tendency in the West because we live in a kind of paradise. We live in New York City, we have nice clothes. I mean, those of you who came with us to Nepal in those trips, sorry to not Nepal, but it's harsh there. Yeah. The reality is hard. You can't get hot water even if you have a solar hot water system. It won't work. The piping sucks. So it doesn't matter. And then you come here and you forgot that you can just do this and there's clean hot water. We flush our poo with fresh water that is drinkable. for the rest, and the rest of the world can't have water. Like, what is it that produced that for you? If you understand that, then you can begin the journey that won't be easy. It's hard. It's not easy. But there's like no other choice. So here's the choices, right? The choices are, this life, the Buddha's first words in his first teaching is, life is suffering. And he wasn't saying it to be depressing. He was saying, whatever comes into being must go out of being. Don't get attached to it. The house is going away, your hair is going away, your job is going away, your career is going away, your relationship, even if you keep it up to the moment of death, will go away. Because one of you will die first, or you'll be sad about the other one dying. And it's not to get you depressed. It's about waking up. Because if that's gonna happen, what do you do between now and then? Do you sit there and make nice lattes? Or do you figure out if you can learn those forces that bring things into being and take them away, the same things, and then short circuit them in some way? Now, Buddhism, Eastern philosophy, says that those things are caused. They're not like that by their own side and that's it, you're stuck here forever. It's not. It's saying that anything that's produced has a cause. And if you understand those causes, you can undo those causes, and you don't have to do being in that kind of cycle, this ignorant, repetitive cycle that we're stuck in. You're just on an upswing. Hooray! But if you're in the cycle, where does the up low go? And that's what it is. And you can have mini cycles or you can have big cycles. And so Buddhism says you understand those forces, you understand the instructions for learning how to manipulate those forces, and then you have the power to do something about it. So really we only have a few options. We have either the stuff in this book is true and it can help you remove yourself from this cycle of existence in the ups and downs, in the samsaric realm that we call life. And you can use your upward spiral to go a little higher. Either it's wrong and you don't know, or you can go back and do things like everyone else is doing. Get that job at Ergon Energy, I'm sure they're hiring now, and and just do things like the rest of us do, and then somehow believe that that's going to be okay. That when I die, when my face falls off, etc., that somehow everything will go dark. And I mean, we partly believe that, I think, because we're in the era of science, which has delved so much into the physicality of our existence, looking at atoms and particles and planets and so on. And we were all indoctrinated into the cult of the Big Bang. I mean, I don't know if it happened or not, but I believe it. I really do. I was told to believe it, and I believe it. There's a part of me that says, yes, that makes sense. That's logical sense. But the implication behind that is that I'm just dust. And the dust finishes, and the dust finishes. We don't have this idea from the East that says the difference between body and mind is profound. The stuff, this meat that keeps changing, is not the same as my mind. And in the West, we believe it is. We believe the mind resides in the brain is another piece of meat, and somehow that meat is my mind. And so we have this idea. If that's true, then okay, we die, we go dark, and then we're back to stardust, and then up goes the cycle, and some new things start, and some more things finish, and infinitum, and that's it. You're just an accident. And you don't have any direction over the accident, and that's it. But these ideas say radically different. Says you analyze the idea of mind. What is mind? And mind is nothing to do with physicality. You can't cut mind. You can't explode mind. If you put an atomic bomb next to consciousness, it's not going to go away. And then we have this debate, right? I mean, in the 30s, I think it was, we did all these experiments as Westerners where we weighed people as they were dying to see whether or not some soul, like, are they a mini, tiny bit less heavy upon death? Because if they are, then they're dead and something left them, the soul or the mind or whatever, right? And nothing changes. So then in the West, we think when your body stops moving, then you're dead. Your brain dead means you're dead, right? And where did the mind go? We think it stopped with the body because we think it's that meat. These ideas say, look, that's wrong. There's a very different thing called a mind which is non-physical. It's not made of the same stuff. Yes, it's symbiotic with the body while the body is here, absolutely, like a tree is rooted to the earth. But the tree is not the earth. If the tree dies, the earth doesn't die. It's the same idea. So our proof of we die, we stop, in the West mostly, for uninformed people, is the body stopped moving, therefore the mind's not there, it must have stopped. But that last part is incorrect, according to Buddhism. The first part is correct, it stopped moving, the mind isn't there. True, not there, from a Buddhist point of view. But why stop? Who says stop? Where's the proof that it stops? There's no proof that it stops. In fact, there's more and more minds being born all the time. There's more and more consciousness appearing. So if you've done the Course 4, you understand the idea, the logical proofs behind past and future lives. If you're lucky enough to be born in the East, you believe it like we believe Big Bang. But the idea for you as students of these ideas is, can you test this for yourself? Can you question truly my consciousness? Where is it right now? Is it locked inside my brain? Or is in fact your eyes connecting with this thing over here and you're experiencing, and if you think of home right now, is your mind at home? And if you feel love, does love arise in your body? Is it over here or is it over here? That the body and the mind affect. So that's a big, big, profound thing. So, it warrants some investigation. But the point here is, if that idea is true, that when we die, the mind doesn't stop. In fact, it continues, like it continues right now, moment by moment, creating the next experience, rolling on to the next. This thing called karma, rolling into the next, creating your next experience. If that's true, then it's a game changer. Then you're not just here for now. Then the thing that you call mind, the thing you're taking care of, the intentions and the actions that you do day to day are profound differences to that mind stream that continues. And then if you look at, well, what are the possibilities of mind streams? What are the options for our mind stream to be? Is it just a human spectrum? We have this tiny spectrum of reality. Animals have minds. They have a different spectrum of realities, those two spectrums. There's 100 million stars. There's I don't know how many galaxies. There's I don't know how many possible beings. Forget the ones just on the planet, the ones underwater and above ground and crawling on the planet, the ones, forget those. Imagine that if as humans we have these variances of experience through our mind, are things we get enraged and dark and depressed, and it becomes unbearable. We get so uncontrolled in that state. And sometimes we get elated and happy and in love and all-encompassing and wise. And then we go to work and we're normal. And then we have all these extremes of being. Our minds jump from that experience to that experience and that experience and that experience and that experience. Add to that a layer of animal realm. Just what's it like to be chased by a tiger? What's racing through your consciousness? You're aware, you're a being. That's just another layer. That's a possible destination for mind upon the moment of death, if it continues. And like that, then add a whole bunch of layers above of happiness and joy and bliss, and a few more layers below. If you understand the expanse of existence. So if these ideas are true, that the mind continues upon death, then the game is longer. And if you get to understand the forces that bring all those existence into beings, then you really have a shot at exiting completely this also caused thing called samsara. being caught in an unpredictable whirlpool of where I am now, where I am today. I mean, just like we have right now, sometimes you're happy, right? And everything's going well, and then where does the upsetness come from? If you're happy, where did it emerge from? Or vice versa. You're completely upset, and then someone says something ridiculous, and you start laughing, which is, you know, a nice thing to happen. Where did that come from? If our conscious stream can be interrupted like that, and you don't know where the hell it comes from, it's still happening. It's still caused by something. This book says you can figure out where it comes from. And that's where the hard work begins. But just because it's hard work does not mean it's not doable. Like with your healthy, beautiful minds and bodies that I see in the eyes in the room today, and you consider the ideas I just discussed right now, the possibility and the range of spectrum of existence, right? How bloody lucky are you to be sitting in a New York place with all the right conditions of a mostly stable mind, because I'm sure you're not all fully stable, right? If you're on the planet, you're not. You're flickering, right? But it's true, right? And this is the profound thing that hurt me and freed me when I heard the guy that became my teacher say these same words to me. It shocked me. I didn't want to hear it. I'm sure you don't want to hear it. But I hope that they stay in your brain, the meat, and force you to check your actions and your motivations the next time you bump into an unpleasant boss, a fat person on the subway, or a lovely sign above them. And may it free you from just being something caught in a whirlpool, and give you the power and the freedom to say, I have some instructions, I have some ideas, maybe I can put them into practice. And it is no different to practicing anything else. Now it requires skill and effort, and you go into a battleground that you've never been in before, but that was always there. All of a sudden you wake up, Buddha, a little bit to the reality that is, and then with that new vision, with those new eyes, you have a new battlefield, and that battlefield is your mind. And the casualties are your afflicted thoughts. And then every being outside of you and every action, doesn't matter if you work for Ergon Energy or you play music, it doesn't matter. Everything becomes an opportunity to wake up, a messenger, a sign to wake up, because you do these practices that are mostly secret, nobody knows about, and I'll share with you the author and the title in a second, which has all this profound significance. So I wanted to say other things, but I guess I got on a sidetrack. Damn it. Sorry. Profound instructions. Deadly serious. Mind and body. Something that I want to talk about, mind and body, Hamlet, to be or not to be. I read that recently. Does anybody know it off the top of their head? There's nobly in the mind to suffer the slings and arrows of outrageous fortunes that take on. What point does he say about the dream? To dream,
to die, to dream, to sleep,
perchance to
dream.
To dream. And then what did he say? Do you remember?
To sleep no more.
To sleep no more. He ponders this idea, right? He says, I may as well just kill myself. Life's terribly depressing, like I just described. I may as well just end it. And then he goes, wait a minute. If I do it, and I go into this dream, perchance to dream, what things may come, something he says about those dreams, where these things that may come in that dream state, in that afterlife, in the time after my death, they are unknown to him. And he says, perhaps they're going to be worse than the worst thing I've got right here. Perhaps better, I don't know. He's sure that something goes on. And he says, I'll chicken out, I'll stay and face my foes and face my troubles now, which are surely less than what those things might be. Buddhists think exactly the same thing. They think if you look at the entire spectrum of possibility of being, when all of us die, We go, unless we've done the work, we go into this lottery, and every single spectrum of existence is your destination possibility. And if you don't know how to get to any of those destinations, it's just a lottery. And it's a lottery based on the kind of state of mind that you've engendered and the things you've got inside, the karmas that you've got in your heart, the actions of your body, speech and mind. And if I go by anything, even though I've been trying these ideas for a long time, if I go by anything based on my state of mind tonight in front of that Bodhisattva on the train, my next state of mind is not going to be very good. If that's the impulse that will push me forward. So this is a race. It's a race against your own death. And these ideas say your own death is preventable in the way you experience it. Yes, the meat will go away, but there is a transformation available. You can turn those cycles into a fusion of no more cycles, if you like, to a point of enlightenment. That's what enlightenment means. Where you experience your mind and your body transform. It doesn't have to be this way. It's coursed this way. You could course it to be a different, if you understood the forces. And these forces are, like any instrument in your current existence, they're playable. You can figure out how to play that instrument. It's just another technique. But it's perhaps the hardest technique because you'll be in a fight against you, against the you that is happy to be getting nice hot showers in New York City and getting lattes. And saying, well, everyone else is getting famous and are on Instagram, they've got the new iPhone 6, that sucks anyway. But why don't I? Yeah, and my friends are partying and all this, etc. Right? But I don't know, I've made the point, right? Have I made the point of why the motivation? I think that was my main thing. Good. I think so. I'll make it a little deeper, sorry. I talked about, I forgot one really profound thing, okay? Not that everything I haven't covered is extremely profound. And if you're listening to this about yourself and you're scared shitless at the reality, pardon the word shitless, in a Dharma center, right? Think of the people that aren't even seeking. Think of the people you know that aren't even looking for an answer. Think of the people that you know in your life who are just lost and they don't even have the impulse to want to figure it out. Listen for them. Figure it out for them. Because if you can figure it out, you can be it for them. If this is true, that you can transform this cyclic existence and at some point you get nimble with it, you get to play. Is it riffs in the guitar? Is that what it's called?
You can play riffs in the guitar.
Riffs, okay. You get to play whatever. And you don't even think you're working hard for it. Or if you're acting and at some point you're flowing with what you do as an actor and you're no longer thinking like you used to when you began learning. Or if you're driving and you're not even sure how you're driving through the streets of New York because you've already practiced and practiced and practiced and practiced and it's become second nature. Then this thing is exactly the same. So what do you do with your time and energy? But get those skills practiced, so well practiced, so practiced ease that they become an impulse. Hopefully, like when my judgment came up about this guy, the answer came quickly because I built the impulse. Hopefully. So, the point I was going to make was this. Forget organizing any external thing, job, career, money, food, babes, guys. Forget it. That any of that stuff in a nice combination will provide you happiness, lasting happiness. Because it might for a short time, but it will collapse. The thing that brings it up makes it collapse. Yeah? So don't fool yourself and get so invested in creating something for happiness because it will collapse if you attach your happiness to that. I'm not saying don't build beautiful things, right? Build beautiful things. Build beautiful relationships. Get into nice houses. Offer your best at your job. But do it with a motivation that's different. That's understanding how to play with these forces, so then you can use that action for a bigger goal. Still do what you're doing, but secretly, in your mind, use the instructions in this book to break open the conception that the world has to be this way. If you don't, and forget the external things, let's look at the internal things, then the thing that keeps us locked in here is this horrific pattern of mind that no matter what you wanted, if you're lucky enough to get it, you will at some point shortly after be unhappy, because your mind will then look for the next thing. We cannot be satisfied. Doesn't matter what you get here, because your mind, even if you're fortunate enough to get all the food and all the drinks and all the houses and all the gold and all the fame, you will still want more. The mind is designed that way. That's the trap. So most of us work outside, right? I've built the house and I've got the boyfriend, I've got the lip and tuck, and I've got the... But then inside, that force is also still going, right? Why am I chucking out clothes that I don't want? I wanted them at some point. I thought they were awesome at some point. It's changing. Marketing and advertising work on that aspect of our existence and create value for themselves for it. It looks at that aspect of ourselves that we are never satisfied unless we get the next thing and the next thing and the next thing, and we buy into it. I want the new shoes. I want the new iPhone. But my iPhone broke, and so then I want the next one. So whatever it is that you're working towards, these instructions tell you continue doing what you're doing, but secretly turn it into a practice to figure out how to operate these forces. Because when you do, then you really have freedom. Nobody's going to die with you. Meaning your consciousness moving forward, you are the only person at that point that can help you. Nobody's going to hold your hand. And if they are, at some point you won't feel their hand anymore. You are going on your own. And you go with what you've created in your heart. You go with what you've built up in your mind. And may it be virtuous and may it be beautiful, because it continues, and it continues in the same mode as what you lived here. Truly, this is the worst thing I can tell you. It is the best thing that can free you. It might not be pretty. It says go to iPad. So, I now go to my iPad. This is what it takes when you lose technology. It's nice. Do you want a break before I go into, I'm going to cover the text, the meaning, it's a secret meaning in the text title, the commentary, the author, and then a quick summary of what the course is. It's really beautiful, and I encourage you to stay. Have a 10-minute break. We'll start at 9 o'clock. Yeah? Thank you for listening. Yeah? Thank you.
You.